So hey guys, Stephen Bogren here from Pro Physique. Today what I want to talk about is embracing the reverse diet. So what's up guys and gals? How's everybody doing? I hope everyone's having a wonderful week. A happy Tuesday so far. Now, today's video topic. Now this is a very difficult one, I think, for a lot of people to grasp. And, it totally makes sense. And so as a coach, I 100% get it. So let's talk about why I think it's such a hard issue to grasp first. And that is the issue of really embracing the reverse diet, right? So I think first and foremost, just the way that we've been brought up, sort of the social persona, as you might want to call it, is a dieting one. It's always been be skinny, be skinnier, be skinnier, be skinnier. And I think that stems from a lot of things. Obviously, the model culture is a big part of that. And so we've seen that throughout the years, runway models very skinny, and that was sort of what we set our standard of beauty on, right? And so for females in particular, that dieting persona that I need to be skinnier, I need to be skinnier, I need to weigh less, and to be stuck on that scale is in part due to, that culture, right? Now, a lot of that is also in part due to how our physicians have typically prescribed dieting, right? You need to go on a diet, you need to eat less, you need to exercise more. It's always been based off of, what is it? Weight, right? It's your weight to height ratio, it's BMI. And I'm not here to hate on BMI because I do believe that for a good majority of the population who do not weight train, that BMI is a really good indicator of health. And so maybe a few tweaks, yeah, but overall not bad. However, as soon as you go into a more athletic population that holds on to lean body mass, now BMI is no longer a good indicator of health, right? It's no longer a good indicator of whether I'm overweight or obese. Because I, at stage lean, am overweight due to, when you're looking at BMI standards, right? And I'm literally stage lean. So I think that also has a lot to do with that whole dieting mentality that I always need to be dieting, because we're used to being told that from our doctors and physicians as well. However, if you're watching this, I'm assuming that you most likely resistance train, which means you most likely hold on to more muscle glycogen and lean body mass. So the BMI standards may not be the best indication of how you feel about your weight or how you should feel about your weight in terms of health and being in a good spot. So I think that those are some of the really big issues, the big ticket items about why we feel the way we do in terms of our weight, our dieting, and that number on the scale. So remember, the number on the scale is not always the greatest indicator of whether or not we're making progress. So I think really embracing the reverse diet, first and foremost, comes from understanding what it is and some of those issues that are pushing us towards dieting all the time, right? The second big thing I think that we have to really take into consideration is where we are at in terms of our lifestyle, our eating habits, our cardiovascular activity, our training activity, so on and so forth, currently in terms of wanting to diet again, right? So if I am a 110-pound female, right, 1,100 calories is 10 times my body weight in calorie intake, so that's still a pretty decent amount of calorie intake. If I'm a 150-pound female, 1,500 calories is 10 times my body weight in calories, right? And so there's kind of a bottom end that we can go to in terms of calorie intake, right? And so you always want to keep protein high enough, and you always want to keep fats high enough, right? So we need protein to spare and to rebuild, essentially, lean body mass. We need fats for hormonal health and fat-soluble vitamins. Carbohydrates we can kind of get rid of, and really, technically, you can go pretty much no carb or as low carb as possible. We see that with the ketogenic diet. And so calories can get pushed pretty goddamn low for a lot of people, and depending on your body weight, it can be lower or higher, right? So, but say that we're at 8 times our body weight in calorie intake. So say we're 100 pounds and we're eating 800 calories a day. That is not a lot of food. That also means that your body is adapting or has adapted, depending how long you've been eating that calorie intake, to that lower calorie intake. Now, if you take that and then take into consideration how much cardiovascular or activity that you've been doing, that is just another aspect of the process that your body will adapt to. So, what happens is over time your body becomes very efficient, right? And we say efficiency is a good thing, not in terms of maintaining body weight. Because that means what it used to take 100 calories to do, it now takes 90 or 80 or 75 calories to do. So, it is important that we take these things into consideration when we're looking at whether or not we're in a good place to diet. Because more often than not, we're already doing hours of cardio a week, and we're already on a very low or a moderately low calorie intake. So if we are in fact at a lower calorie intake and doing a lot more cardio, we simply don't have a lot of room to go into a fat loss phase. Not to mention, we might not get a favorable response from your body. Now, that's not saying that we can't push, because you can always do more cardio. Like, you can always starve the body out if you really want to. We see it done. That doesn't mean that it's a good idea for your long-term health or for your psychological health, right? So we want to make sure that we take those things in consideration, so we're not trying to have to push you into doing 7, 8, 9 hours of cardio a week on top of a very low-calorie diet just to see some sort of response in terms of fat loss from the body. So I think that setting ourselves up for those things helps us to sort of embrace the reverse, because it gives us a more realistic idea of what we can and can't do, and sort of where we're at in the process of body fat, dieting, and just the entirety of it all, right? And so, how do we take that and then put it into, okay, now I'm excited about eating more food and doing less cardio and putting myself into a better place for the long term? Well, I think that comes from a couple of things. So if you're lucky and things are going well, you'll still see some improvements in terms of things like body composition, right? We see our waist measurement improving, right? That's a big deal. That's something we definitely want to pay attention to and focus on in terms of positive changes that are happening during that reversing phase, right? Some people do lose weight during a reverse diet, yes. But remember, that is never our goal. Our goal is to maintain weight. So, as long as we're maintaining weight, we're in a good spot. But some people do. And that's something to hold on to, right? That's a win. But the main things to really pay attention to are, how are you feeling? Like, how are your energy levels throughout the day? Like, are you more so able to go out for a walk with the dog or with friends, or to, be involved in social gatherings, right? Because sometimes if you're dieting hard, simply getting up off the couch can be a challenge, and so we want to make sure we pay attention to that, not to mention just the physiological changes, but the psychological changes, the mental improvements that we can have. Like, are you really afraid to go out, to go to a social gathering occasion because there might be food or there might be wine? Well, those are things that are perfect to work on for a reverse, right? Because we can now become more comfortable with making that food fit into our macronutrient goals, working on our portion controls, right? Working on triggers, and dealing with those in a positive manner that helps us to be more successful long term, right? Working on getting used to saying, all right, I want a glass of wine, and making that fit our macro and calorie goal, right? As the reverse is really getting, a bit more intense and we're getting deep into it and calories are really coming up, we can work on things like estimating food, right? Eyeballing stuff, having a good idea of what's in food, so that maybe you don't have to track quite so much. Maybe you can be a little bit more loose, and it gives you a little bit more freedom in your lifestyle, right? And so I think paying attention to those things are the real things that help you to embrace it, because it's very hard, right? We're continually just berated and broken down with all these media images of how we're supposed to look, And so I think this is going to be the last one. I think that really helped a lot of people to embrace the reverse diet is stay off social media. Stop following some of the people that you follow that are always posting pictures of themselves super stage lean or in bikini, right? It's not realistic to look that way all the time. Okay, very few people can do it, and the ones that do, they have a hard time, and there are underlying issues. Trust me. Being in a healthy body composition involves some body fat because it's about survival. So remember that. And sometimes you just weighing yourself every day. It's just one of those things we want to let go of. We can weigh ourselves once a week. We can weigh ourselves twice a week, or even 3 times a week. We can take an average, and those are still reasonably good numbers to work on that we can still depend on. So remember, guys, embracing the reverse can be very difficult, but it's going to be necessary for a lot of us in long-term health and happiness and to make progress. Don't worry, I will be there with you soon enough, and we can do it together. All right? So anyways, guys, I will leave it there. That's it. I hope you have a wonderful Tuesday. I'll talk to you soon.